And a good Saturday morning to everybody. And thank you for tuning in to the best doggone podcast in the land with Ethan and Heather, a part of the Fanatical Elves Network, a subsidiary of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Ethan Greenberg, and here's Heather. Heather, how are you this morning?
You know what? I am actually excellent. I was not feeling well this week, and I am feeling better today. And there's a hint of sunshine in the sky right now where I'm at, so I'll take it.
Hey, that could be far worse. It could be far worse. I mean, as I was telling you earlier, it's like I got screwed by one day. I know not only I'm going to lose an hour of sleep tonight, because of the moving the clock forward, springing forward, but I also lost an hour of sleep today because the clock I have, it apparently must have been, I don't know, maybe it's the date wrong, and it popped the hour forward. And so when I thought I was getting up at 8:30, I was actually getting up at about 7:30. I guess I was awake. So here I am. I'm a little tired, but it's okay.
That's okay. You're tired, but bright-eyed and ready to talk about all of we don't have a ton of extra topics to talk about, but we've got a lot to talk about on the NBA and on the NFL. So I hope you're ready. I hope you had your coffee because we got a lot to go over.
We do. I've had my cup of coffee. I got my Monster. I'm ready to roll. How about you? Did you have your cup of coffee
I don't drink coffee, and Starbucks has discontinued the only drink that I drink for my source of caffeine. So I had these today. I had Reese's eggs. So I'm good. I had some Reese's eggs and I have my water. So I'm ready.
All right. Well, there we go. And away we go. What's up first, Heather? Okay. We got. All right. So looks like we're having just a bit of a technical difficulty. So thank you for being here with us, Heather. Are we all good?
I think we're all good. I don't know what that was. Did we hear about how we are talking about the best team in the NBA? The Cleveland Cavaliers?
No, we did not hear that. But yes, Pete in Illyria, you're the man. Love you. Sorry. We are fellow Unfiltered 5, constant staples on the Really Big Show, ESPN Cleveland. Pete and Illyria, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Reese's eggs are better than Joe B's, especially that guy who calls in on the voicemail and makes up the terrible jingle for the Joe B's. Pete, if you have any comments on that, please let us know. And voicemailers, Unfiltered 5, better than YouTubers.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way, and I agree, I'm just going to agree with everything that you just said there. I agree. I completely agree.
I like it.
Yes. Yeah. So the Cavs. So the Cavs won their 13th in a row last night, and they did it in, of course, nail-biting fashion, the way that they've been on this winning streak lately. And, they're the only team in the NBA right now that has clinched a playoff spot. And maybe I'm not sure if they were as of last night. But I knew that as of our 12th, when we hit our 12th win, clinched a playoff spot.
Yes, we are now clinched in. We can't be in the play-in. We are a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Cavs, the winning ways are continuing. And, last night, it was a nail-biter, like you said. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing or not. They didn't come out as sluggish as they had in some of their other recent games.
Yeah.
But then they let it slip and they get a guy. Miles Bridges went nuts last night. What is that all about?
I mean, no. Doesn't it seem like, though, in a lot of these wins and a lot of these, it's like they're containing 4 of the 5 guys and they're just letting one of them go wild. They're like, you know what, you do you, boo, and we're going to guard the other 4 guys. So only one person's going to beat us and not the whole team is going to beat us.
Yeah, and it's an interesting philosophy that coaches have. Sometimes they say, look, the guys are the best players. They're going to say they're going to get theirs.
Yeah.
And we're going to work on containing the other guys. It's just one of those things. And again, I didn't, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. I didn't get to watch the entirety of the game, but I got to listen on my drive home last night and listen to them come back. I turned it on and I'm like, we're losing. We're losing
to Charlotte
Hornets.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, but then I listened and they made the comeback. And it's the contributions. It's the players. It's DeAndre Hunter making clutch plays. It's Evan freaking Mobley with the shot clock running down and making that triple.
Yeah, but you mentioned Evan Mobley. One of the things that I've seen on ESPN is how they're not calling it Donovan Mitchell's Cavs anymore. They're saying Evan Mobley and the league leading Cavs. And I love that so much for us because everyone knows that Donovan Mitchell, he's the guy that's going to get his, right? He's the guy. But okay, guard him. And then you have Darius Garland that's having a great season. You have Evan Mobley, who is having the season of his life. And you can't tell me that doesn't have everything to do with Kenny Atkinson and how he's being used and how Mobley is being used.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is that I think there's been reporters, specifically, I'm pretty sure it was Brian Windhurst, who said, look, if Evan Mobley, if he's your best player, I mean, you need that. And we do. We definitely, he has to be a presence. The ability he has created this season and all the work he's put in to make himself a respectable perimeter shooter, be a threat to shoot from three. His ball handling skills are fantastic. This guy, he can bring the ball up the court. I'm very impressed with what he's doing. Yeah. And they need him. They need him to be aggressive.
What about his defense, though?
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk that he's going to be, defensive player of the year, or that he's going to be in the discussion for defensive player of the year. I don't know if he will get it, but you never know. There's still a whole lot of basketball left to be played.
Oh, there certainly is. He was in the discussion, and then injuries kind of took out some of the Wemby.
Yes, Wemby is out for the whole year with the blood clot.
Right. And Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies was the favorite. And as if you watched the game on ESPN against the Grizzlies, you would have heard them talk nonsensically and all about Jaren Jackson Jr. as they were suckling his teats.
Right. That's what they do, though. That's what they do.
And now he's injured. He may not. I think it's possible he may not be eligible for the DPOY. So it's possible that Evan Mobley has moved up to the favorite. I haven't looked at the odds because, of course, as much as I know that gambling is a big thing, I'm over it, to be quite honest. Every segment, hey, I'll bet you this. I'll bet that I don't have a flying rat's patoozie about your over-under. Thank you. Okay, that's my FYI there.
Yeah, no. And you can bet on everything, and I'm not betting. I don't do the straight-up bets. Like, I will bet, maybe once a week or something, and I don't do the straight-ups because odds change so much, and what am I going to put $5 on something that I forgot about? And I like to do the in-game parlay stuff, but it's out of control, right? it is out of control because even at the half, because it's FanDuel now that the Cavs are on, and every single segment, it's like, here are the odds if you did this. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to watch this game, and I want to watch these Cavs on a big win streak, and I don't want to have to talk about this all the time.
Right. But the great thing is about all of the gambling is that it has created I think it's created more interest in the games. As much as I'm kind of sick and tired of it, there's a lot of degenerate gamblers or even people who are on the outside looking in, and they're like, oh, there's a legal way to do this.
Right.
It generates a little bit more interest. Again, I'm a little bit tired of it because it seems like it's all they talk about and they come on and so on and so forth. But it's a revenue generator.
Oh, it is big time. Well, because that's what they need, right? Those people, the players need more money, and the league needs more money. And
absolutely.
I liken it though. I liken it to like fantasy football because for me, with football or with anything, actually with basketball and baseball, I've done both. I was always a fan of the Guardians. Or the Indians when they were. I was always a fan of the Browns. I was, it was Cleveland. It was the Cavs only. And then when fantasy came around, I'm like, okay, now I have a reason to watch every single game. I have some kind of interest in every game that's on TV. Yes. So I feel like that actually made me more of a fan and less of a Browns fan or less of a Cavs fan, more of a fan of just the sport.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, it definitely, especially we've got March Madness coming up, and that is going to be
so exciting. So exciting.
It is. It absolutely is. So yeah, I know we've gotten off track here, but
yeah, we digress. But the Cavs, they are, I'm sure you could have bet on would the Cavs have a 13-game win streak. So, and you probably could have bet on this. So this is actually the third time this season that they've had a plus 12 game win streak. They're only one of 7 teams in the history of the NBA to ever do that.
Right. And to confirm your the information, the Cavs are the only team so far at this moment to have clinched a playoff spot in the entire NBA.
It's insane.
It really is, and it's talked about ad nauseum, but it is so incredible that until the trade deadline and making the move to get DeAndre Hunter, they brought back the entirety of the core. They made a change to the coach and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And it seemed to unlock things. I think it's unlocked things, and certainly it appears there's a lot more maybe respect or appreciation by this roster.
Yeah, and I think that it was it begs the question, going back and looking back at the trade deadline, I think we all thought, nope, the Cavs don't need to do anything. They're great. They're fine. Leave the lineup alone. And then they add DeAndre. And now I'm like, well, what was I thinking? Like they made a good roster great with him. I feel like he's been such a great addition. And I maybe Pete, I don't know. I do think that you play up to the level of your competition. They have had a little bit of a gauntlet this week. They had a back-to-back. So I think that they're probably a little bit tired. Maybe they do get a little bit complacent, because where else do you go from here?
Right. Well, and so I would say that certainly the way they played against Portland was not good.
No.
The way they played against Miami was not good.
No, it wasn't good.
Last night they came out and they had the lead at the half, and then I don't even know. Again, I apologize.
They just looked flat. And you know what? They went cold. They went cold in the second half. There were a lot. Donovan was missing some gimmies, it felt like, for him. So they definitely did go cold.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It is a long season. But the thing that the Cavs need to do, and I was having discussions about this, and I think that, right now, not only are they trying to lock up the 1 seed in the East, they have an opportunity. You want to try and lock up the potential home court.
Right. For the whole thing. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Oklahoma City is 52-11. So at this juncture, if the Cavs and the Thunder were to meet up, the Cavs would have
that home court. Right.
So it is very important. They've got a goal. They have to keep goals in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously health is of the utmost importance. You don't want to run your team into the ground. You don't want to be like the Knicks. They have run their players into the ground. Now Jalen Brunson is out 2 weeks, and they got to keep winning. They got to keep playing.
Right. But it's like Steve, this actually would go into what we're talking about here, what a difference coaching makes. And I think that, Ethan, you're talking about not running the players into the ground. He's not. His rotations are phenomenal. Donovan Mitchell is not, for once, leading the league in minutes. And because Kenny has such great vision, and he is not afraid to rotate players in and out on combinations that you would think, oh, that's a little bit different, but it's working, because he is, I think his basketball IQ is a lot higher than any of us even realized. There were a lot of people who were grateful that we got him. I don't remember seeing anybody saying, oh, I can't believe we got him, and why didn't we get X coach or Y coach? I didn't see a lot of that, but just from a front row perspective, watching this many Cavs games, he's a very good coach. He is a very, very good coach.
He is. Now let me ask you, Heather, because we talked about this. You're a sneakerhead. What do you think of him wearing basically the Adidas shoes on the sideline? He's not wearing basketball shoes?
No, that's a nod to Donovan, though. Donovan's shoes are in the Adidas line. I have several pairs of them, so it's just a nod to Donovan, I think.
I don't know. Are they Sambas, or are they?
Yeah.
Are they?
They look like Sambas. Yeah.
But do you remember the old skit? It was called Adidums. For less money, we had extra stripe.
No, I don't remember that. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
Yeah. So, eh, yeah, that's like
Let's talk about shoes for a second, though. I don't know if no, I know no one noticed. I noticed it. Isaac Okoro wore his pink the shoe that he did the collab with JC Sheldon, and I have those shoes, and I was very excited. I was very excited. I noticed. I look at his shoes. I look at all the players' shoes.
Oh, well, but isn't it crazy, Heather, how the shoe game has changed? It used
Yes,
to
it
be
has.
that, especially, and even at the, I guess, the collegiate level,
Yep.
you used to wear team shoes. You had
Nope.
a pair of shoes you all wore.
Yep.
Now everybody's on their own. And
Colors and designs and
exactly. It's
yeah,
very interesting. You knew that, like, hey, they're all going to be wearing the black sneakers. They're all going to wear their
yeah.
white high tops, or whatever it was.
Well, you know what I like now? It's not just Nike because it was always Nike. It was always Nike. And now it's New Balance and well, Isaac Okoro has his hollows, whatever you want to say. And then Donovan Mitchell has his Adidas. So there's a lot more. And honest to God, you guys, Donovan Mitchell's shoes aren't, I say this they're not as expensive as you would think. They're $120. But like you get a pair of Nikes and they're like $200. So they're not they're not outpriced. So we digress again. We definitely digress again. We were talking about the addition of DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome. Let's talk about Ty Jerome because I think it's a nice segue into the next little segment we're going to do. But Ty Jerome's return from last year's injury he has been playing exceptionally well. Now, one thing I do notice about him is that he does play a little bit selfish. So do you think that with the addition of Hunter and Jerome and having the health, are the Cavs built to win it all this year?
Wow. I think that it is wide open.
Yep.
The league is pretty wide open. As good as Boston is, and as much as Kendrick Perkins kisses their butts.
Well, right.
As Charles Barkley pointed out so eloquently, I love it.
Right.
They've got their weaknesses. They play with their food. If you can they are going to play their style, which is to shoot threes. It's going to come down in the playoffs. There's going to be a time. It's going to be about defense.
It is.
You play tough defense, and it starts to slow down. And yes, they won a championship last year, but look at what they got. They ran through teams that all had injuries. That entire playoff run,
yep.
They kept catching breaks with teams having injuries. And not to take anything. Look, a championship is a championship. You win. I mean,
absolutely. Right.
But the point being, every team has their flaws. In the Eastern Conference specifically, are the Cavs built to win it? I think they've got just as good of a chance as anybody.
Yep.
In the Eastern Conference, certainly I think we talked about this before. The other teams you have to look out for. It seems like Milwaukee is starting to pick up some steam, and tomorrow night the Cavs will be in Milwaukee, and they've had some great matchups already this season, really close ones.
Right.
Let's see how that goes. And I don't know. New York is suffering injury, so I'm not so sure about them. I really think it's going to come down to the 3-team race of Cleveland, Boston, and Milwaukee, because again, Milwaukee is starting to finally come into form, and they are
because they've been an exceptional disappointment. What a disappointment Milwaukee has been this year. I mean, it's
all Jimmy Haslam's fault.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if he would talk to his players.
Oh, yes, that's exactly what it is. That is, it's all his fault. It is definitely all his fault.
Yep, I blame him too. No, but there were so those are the teams that you think could make some noise in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference.
Certainly, and the Western Conference is getting interesting. It's getting much more interesting post the Anthony Davis Luka Doncic trade, because all
of a sudden the Lakers are
right. Now here's the question though, as you take a look at it or think about it, for the Lakers, right now they are tied. Well, winning percentage, they hold the 2 seed over
they
the
do.
Dodgers.
Yeah, they do. They're 11 games back from Oklahoma. They're
right. Neither Los Angeles or Denver are going to catch Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is cruising to the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
OKC certainly has played very well. Let's see how they do. Last year, they pooped the bed in the playoffs.
They did. I think that's the interesting point about this too, though, is that regular season is obviously it's one thing, but postseason is a completely different gear. That's where you really find out like these players and what they're made of and how they respond. Going back to the Eastern Conference, you don't think that Detroit or the Pacers could make any noise?
Well, all right.
I don't think Detroit. I think out of those two, I think the Pacers probably have the best chance to make a little bit of.
It depends
noise.
on the matchup. It depends.
Yeah.
Let's look at it here just real quick. So right now, if we looked at it today, and notwithstanding who wins in the play-in,
right?
The Cleveland is the 1, Atlanta's the 8. I don't like that.
I don't like that at all because we don't match up very well against Atlanta. We never have.
We seem to figure it out the last time we played them, but I don't want to see them. Of course, I don't want to see Miami. I don't know. I don't want to see anybody. But no, Boston is the 2, and they're pretty firmly at 2. New York's the 3 at 13. I mean, they're
right now
Boston, but Milwaukee's only 3 behind New York, and New York's going to be without Jalen Brunson for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Now, I think that let's say the 4-5 is Milwaukee and Indiana.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee.
They could flip flop.
It's within a game. It's possible, but right now I think that Milwaukee is trending up. Indiana is trending. Just they're kind of staying level.
I don't think Indiana is trending. I think that they're pretty level. Yep.
They are. And Detroit, they have an opportunity. I mean, they could possibly jump up to the 5, but if they stay in the 6 and play, let's say at this point, they played New York in the first half.
Yeah.
JB will be playing some tough defense.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen what JB does against New York. Eek.
Or doesn't do. Doesn't win.
Right. Exactly. So I think it is possible that Detroit, if they match up against New York because of New York's injuries and how much they have to play, that they play their guys, it's possible Detroit could make a little bit of noise, but I don't know that anything beyond the first round would be the potential. I think that might be the ceiling for them. I really, as we talked about it, it really appears it's Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee, and New York because of their injuries. I'm just not seeing it. There's a big thing.
Yeah, it's like you have the top teams. It's almost like in college football this year, you have the teams here and then you kind of have everybody else. You've got like those top couple of teams and then you kind of have everybody else. So I think that this is probably a good segue into the next thing that we were going to talk about. Yes. How much is officiating going to factor in to the playoffs, and how much what are we seeing with officiating? So you guys, if you missed it this week, Cavs against who was it against?
I think it was against Portland. It was Portland. Yes.
So the officiating was very, very bad. It was very bad. And I think that there was a record number of fouls called in the first half, record number of free throws called or shot. I think there were like 52 or something in the first half alone. So after the game, Ty Jerome had this to say.
Free throws tonight, just how tough was it to just get in a flow on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, I thought the refs were really bad tonight, especially Natalie. She was really bad. So when stuff like that happens, they kind of lose control of the game, and you just got to keep your head. I thought that first half was ridiculous. Third quarter was horrendous. And, just got to keep your head and keep playing.
So our man got fined $25,000 for calling out the refs, and I think it probably would have been less had he not called the ref out specifically. So he called out Natalie. Is it Sago, Sago? How do you? I believe
it is Sago.
Sago. So he called out Natalie Sago specifically, and listen, anybody that knows me knows that I am not, all men are terrible and they're against women. But some of the comments that I saw on the TikTok that I just showed and on a lot of the stuff on X, the general consensus was from the generally male population was that women should not be refs in the NBA because they're emotional. among other things, because they're emotional. And that really just kind of set me off. So I fired off a post about it because, listen, is she a bad ref? Yes. There is absolutely no question in my mind that she should not be officiating games, that she's not a good ref. She needs a lot of work. Is it because she's a woman and because she's emotional? No, she's just a bad ref. How many times do we watch games and we're watching men officiate and we're like, what the hell was that? That wasn't a foul. And you're yapping about, men being bad officiating. And I don't know. It gets me all like fired up because it has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. It just has everything to do with the fact that she's not good. So Ethan, what are your thoughts on this?
All right. Well, first of all, amongst the comments I just pulled up here, at NBA, you can't let two women ref together. Their periods link up and they get too emotional.
That's how it works, you guys. Women can't stand next to each other because we sync up and we're just crazy together.
Exactly. No, I was, first of all, I was disgusted with her as an official, not because it's a she versus a he. We've seen Scott Foster is horrific. He's one of the worst NBA officials, but he's a man. So does he get a pass for being horrible? No,
Right.
It has nothing to do with the fact that this is a woman. And I'm so sick of this bull bleep that people talk and try and say, it's a DEI hire. This is why. Screw you.
Yeah, it's okay. So where are you going to school? Are you starting reffing little league games? Because guess what? Parents are terrible. They'll cut your throat out. So that's why we don't have refs. That's why we're having to dip into the women pool too, because we don't have a lot of men that want to do this anymore. It's a terrible job. Look, we're discussing this and how bad they are. I'm not out there officiating. I don't know if I could make a game time decision, a snap decision call on what a foul is or what it isn't. I know that she should not have that job. It has nothing to do with it being female, though.
Right. And I haven't looked at her overall. I haven't seen anything to talk about what she has done overall. How many games has she officiated? What is her experience? And generally what the consensus is. All I can say is that game was officiated horrifically.
It was horrific.
It really was bad.
But they act like she wasn't the only one that was calling terrible fouls, calling terrible, everybody had their whistle in their mouth that game.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you talk about officiating and how much it changes. And just to share a personal experience of watching officials throughout a season. So last weekend I was down. So for Division III men's basketball, I was actually there to cover the women's basketball, but I was there at the conference tournament for the Old Dominion Athletic Conference for Randolph-Macon. And in the game they played, the semifinals, all of a sudden the officials swallowed the officials swallowed the whistles. And guys are getting knocked on the floor and they're not making calls. And basically, officials suddenly changed the way they officiate from the entirety of the rest of the season. Yeah. You can't do that. You got to stay consistent. And again, it's crazy. How is this? So you get people who complain, you got to swallow the whistle. You can't call the foul there on the last play. You can't do this. But
right.
You can't have it both ways. But as players, you have to maintain composure.
You do.
You have to be able to play through it. You can't be getting technical fouls. That hurts.
Well, one can argue that the men were being emotional because they couldn't control their temper. So there's that argument that, I don't know, maybe human beings get emotional.
What?
I don't know. Men have feelings. What? Wait, no.
We can't have that.
Yeah. So and Ty Jerome, in the post game press conference, you can argue that he was emotional, even though he was level and very calm talking about it. He still was worked up. He was still mad enough to call her out by name, and he's like, "I don't care about your $25,000. Find me." Now, Pete said calling out the ref by name, that's a no-no. And thank you on the congratulations. So you can't call him out by name. I don't love the rule that you're not allowed to say anything bad about officiating. I don't think I love that rule because players should have a voice. Players should be able to say, look, it was terrible, because it was terrible. And they're the ones that are being affected by it. So,
yeah,
maybe not calling her out by name, but if he had just said, like, officiating was really, really bad tonight, yeah, you're not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. And I don't know where I fall on it. I think that at the end of the day, it goes both ways. One, as the player, you do need to maintain your composure, and calling players out and calling out owners or front offices, which we'll get to a little bit later. It's a strategy.
It is.
You know what you're doing when you say it. So I think that you have to. It's calculated. It's definitely. He didn't just say that without thinking about it. He knew.
Oh, no, he knew. Yeah.
So I think that it goes both ways, and you really need to be careful. But I think at the end of the day, this is not about the gender, of the official. This is just bad officiating.
Right.
And it's something that you have to be able to deal with. You're going to have that sometimes in whatever matchups, and you got to roll with the punches.
Right. And that's where I think that's where we can leave this discussion and move on to some bigger ones. But that's, you got guys, girls, we need to do better. We need to do better. It's not a male or female thing. It's just a human thing. She's a terrible ref. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a she. And I mean, we could talk about Angel Hernandez in baseball. Exactly. Everyone knows his name. So is that because he's a man? No, he's just a bad umpire.
Yeah, I think he got the short end of the stick or something like that. But before we segue to our next topic here, Heather, let's take a moment for a word from our sponsors. You are tuned in to the best doggone podcast in the land on the Fanatical Elves Network and Fans First Sports Network. And welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the best doggone podcast in the land. A Saturday morning wake up special. We are rocking and rolling. We are all jazzed up. It looks like both of us have had a serious amount of caffeine, and all you've had is a Reese's egg.
Just one. I've just only had one. That's all we're gonna. No, it's tragic. It's tragic. I don't drink caffeine, or I don't drink coffee, and the only caffeinated drink I have, Starbucks discontinued. So cold turkey. So this is just me again.
Which one did they? I know they discontinued a lot of them. Which one did you like?
I liked the Java chip Frappuccino. I got it made with non-fat milk and no whipped cream. And
now wait a second. The Java chip, did that have caffeine in it? Because there are certain ones that don't have caffeine. Like I accidentally got the one. I used to love the mocha Frappuccino, and it was so good, and it sent me into type 2 diabetes.
The mocha cookie crumble. I've tried that one too as a substitute. It's too rich for me. It was too rich for me. Yes, it had. I could get like double.
The espresso, get the double.
Yeah. It had that. I could get that. Sometimes I got the double pumps.
Nice. I had to. Did you ever find with your Frappuccinos, because of the straws, I would ask for the double blended?
Oh yeah, because of the chunky. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, we need the big milkshake straws. Like
we did because the chips would get stuck.
The chips, the ice, whatever it was. Panera actually. They do the big like milkshake straws. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of the milkshake straws. You got to have that, or you're going to have to double blend. We're going to have to smooth that out a little bit.
But Panera, if you're listening, sponsor us. I love Panera. I love Panera. So
hey, they are good when they don't mess up your order. It's fantastic.
It's great. So let's talk about something that it's been crazy NFL free agency news. We're not going to talk about the draft. That's coming up in a month, 5 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit longer than that. Comes up at the end of April.
So Is it? I don't even know what day it is now.
Don't worry about it. I don't know either. It's all good.
Yeah, it's next month. It's next month. So we've touched on some draft stuff, but let's talk about the big news around the NFL. And there has been some big news around the NFL. Max Crosby. You guys, if you don't know Max Crosby, he's a defensive end for Vegas. Let's see. He gets paid. They just extended him $106.5 million. Total compensation package of $149.3 million through 2029 with, get this, $91.5 million guaranteed. He is a defensive end. He has officially become the highest paid non-quarterback player in the NFL. Ethan, how do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know. Highest paid Oh, I don't know anything about that in Cleveland. No, I think that Max Crosby, first of all, isn't it amazing? Eastern Michigan, right?
Yeah.
He came out of the MAC.
Yes.
And Khalil Mack came out of the
Khalil Mack came out of that, yeah.
It's amazing because these are guys, and we talk about this when you talk college football about the big schools and the power 5 or
the power 2 now, the power 2 conference.
But yeah, so it just shows that it doesn't necessarily matter. You can maximize your talent, and Max Crosby has done that. Now, Las Vegas, this is they're making some interesting moves out there.
I was just going to say interesting. The Raiders are making some interesting moves.
New coach Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
And so first of all, I think that the Max Crosby contract, 6 seasons.
Yeah, 6 years.
Last 4 Pro Bowls, and I think most quarterback pressures in the league since 2021. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very impressive. He has been a mainstay there, and he is keeping them afloat defensively. And now, just what the Raiders are doing is you have to start to look and go, what are they going to be doing in the draft? We're not going to go into the draft, but they are going to be signing Geno. They traded for Geno Smith.
Now, is that a Pete Carroll thing? Because Geno Smith played with Pete Carroll, obviously, so he knows him. Is that a Pete Carroll thing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. I was watching our fine friends on ESPN this morning, and Jeremy Fowler was talking about at the combine. It became clear there were discussions that they weren't going to be able to reach an extension with Geno Smith. He has 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where because they weren't going to be able to reach an extension, they said, "Oh, let's make a trade.
Let's get something for him.
Let's get something." So now you go, what is the picture for the quarterback in Las Vegas? You assume Geno Smith. They made this trade. They're on the hook for his 1 year remaining, $31 million on his contract.
Right.
In Vegas. Are they going to now? What are they going to draft? Are they in the market for a quarterback now, or do they feel they can buy a few years with Geno and not go to the well? It is a lot of
really
moving parts.
There are a lot of moving parts, and we're not going to see it all put together this year for the Raiders, but I think that we're going to see them in a couple of years. Like it or not, Pete Carroll was a really good coach. Does he still have it in him? I don't know. But he was a really good coach. He was one of the, on the rare side, success stories of being successful in college and being successful. Now, was it because of the talent that he had? I don't know.
Yeah, but, certainly he made the most.
Well, he had Marshawn Lynch, and he had Russ Bus in his prime.
He did, and he created a winning culture out there.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
he helped as coach. They really developed and the league.
Right. They nurture that.
He did. And so I'm not a gigantic Pete Carroll fan, but he certainly has a track record. The question is, can he recapture that in Las Vegas? Vegas has struggled. But part of the problem has been the quarterback play. When you're talking about either, Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ritter, it's not we know all about bad quarterback play, and that was bad quarterback play. And they got to get somebody to steady it. And the issue for them, I think, is a couple. Certainly being in the AFC West and having to face off against Kansas City, it's going to make it difficult. and Denver's on the upswing as well.
Denver is on the upswing, and you like to see that with their quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've now look at the coaches in the AFC West.
Yeah.
I mean, like it or not. So you've got Andy Reid.
Yep.
Pete Carroll. Now my brain is Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. Who we don't love, but he is a proven successful NFL coach.
Right.
Whether we like him or not. So it's a very competitive division. The AFC is just it's going to be tough, and in order to compete, they've got to have better quarterback play.
I just feel like with the Raiders, the parallels between them and Cleveland are so similar. You have your defensive end. Ours is like, no, we're not going. We'll talk about that here in a second. But it just seems like Vegas is, and you have the bad off the field behavior. Vegas went through that spell where everybody was getting assault charges, weapons charges.
Right.
We won't even talk about the horrific thing that Ruggs did. Like that was horrific. So the difference is, though, I feel like is the Raiders are trying to swing that pendulum back into the success, and they're doing it in a way that's not going to be detrimental to the team, unlike the Browns.
Yeah, I hear you. It is difficult. Did you see, though, talking about bad behavior, I saw something posted, Xavier Worthy arrested in Texas last night. Criminal assault against a family or household member. He was allegedly impeding the breathing of a household member. Oh boy.
Jeez. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, kind of on an, I don't even know how to say this, but being able to control your
emotions. What?
Right. And in the heat of the moment, realizing that, I mean, violence is in no way.
I gotta walk away.
Is in no way, shape, or form okay. I mean, I find myself, I don't mind, I guess, yelling and screaming at inanimate objects to nobody in particular when I'm frustrated. But I'm not going to resort to some kind of physical violence. I mean, granted, I'm not in the presence of anybody that I would do, but I would never
that's not where that's not the first place that my brain goes.
No.
That begs a question, though. Do you think the NFL does enough for some of these kids who are now gazillionaires? And some of them, this has nothing to do, I'm going to preface this. This has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with anything because but some of these kids, doesn't matter who they are, come from rough backgrounds, or they come from, situations where they haven't had the best, easiest road, and they've overcome all that. But how do you go from, struggling and hustling and grinding your way up to all of a sudden now you are a multimillionaire and everyone wants a piece of you? Yeah. Everyone wants a piece of you.
It is very difficult. And I don't know the insides and outs. I think they have tried to implement things for NFL players, like rookie symposiums, trying to talk about financials and everything. But the emotions, and it's not just NFL players. It's
no.
Basically, it's what you grow up with. You sometimes are doomed to repeat it if you don't address it. And that, again, that has nothing. That's not just to NFL players. It's anybody. It's people who are have abusive relationships. They think that's how you handle things.
Exactly.
It's very difficult. And mental health, there's a stigma with seeking help. And there needs to that needs to go away.
It needs to go away forever. It's important. It's so important. It's so important. If you had appendicitis, you would go to the hospital and you would have it fixed. Or if you had pneumonia, you would go to the doctor. Your brain is no different. It's no different.
No, it is absolutely no different. You have got to take care of it. You need to give it exercise. You need to work on it. There's a lot to it. It's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. And that stigma needs to go away. People need to reach out. They need to get help. They need to get, be able to control emotions and just realize when to step away. it's a tough lesson to have to learn, and I hope that whatever it is, the fallout, whatever it takes, they get a chance to work on it. We saw it in Cleveland with Michael Hall last year.
Yeah. Well, that one was all she retracted everything on that one.
Well, she retracted it. I mean, how much of it why did she retract it though is the question, and I don't know.
No, honestly, on that story, I'm going to lose my girl card here, but on that story, I heard it was complete and total. Her and her mother made up this whole story, and then when the pieces started to come together on like the actual, okay, well, what happened? There was no coherent, like, oh, well, wait a minute, you said it happened this way, you said it happened this way. So. But that's where we could do a whole show on that, where it starts to become dangerous too, like some of these false accusations, and it makes the credible ones.
Exactly, and you can't put yourself into these positions.
Yeah, don't put yourself into these positions.
Exactly, and we talked about it probably previously. When we started talking about guys and the allegations of the massages and this and that with Justin Tucker now and Deshaun.
Yeah, Justin Tucker, they're all coming out now for Justin Tucker,
and that's going to be an interesting story. What is Baltimore going to do at kicker? Are they going to stand by this guy, or are they going to say, look, I'm out?
Stories that said Cleveland is going to sign him to the largest kicker contract in the history of the NFL.
We are the butt of all these jokes, of course.
So while we're talking about guys like that, the next biggest piece of news is Saquon Barkley got paid. So you have the complete antithesis of a terrible guy, and you have the poster child, really, who you would want representing the NFL in every single way, because Saquon Barkley, everyone knew who he was on the field when he played for New York, but now people are starting to see who he is off the field after winning the Super Bowl, and he just seems like a genuinely good guy. So he just got a contract extension, $41.2 million over 2 years. He's the first running back to crack that $20 million mark, and 36 of it's guaranteed. So what does that mean for the rest of the league? Are we going to start to value running backs again, or are we in this loop where, again, you have that like huge drop off? You have the running backs here, and then you kind of have everybody else. Like you have your top five, and then you have everybody else.
No, I think that there is value. We are returning and seeing the value of the running game. We saw this was the stupidity in Cleveland, that we were ahead of the curve in the running game.
We were ahead of the curve, and then we let everybody go.
And then we let everybody go because of the stupidity of trying to placate and help a washed-up quarterback who we owe a lot of money to.
Yeah.
He was stuck in a pickle. But, running backs are valuable. You saw it in Baltimore. Derrick Henry tore it up. Saquon, the Giants, oh, my God. Wow. You want to talk about stupid moves and dysfunction. Thanks, Giants. That's a nice move right there. Letting him go to your division. He goes to the division opponent and then wins the Super Bowl. That is
and has the best career ever. I mean, he was just sick. Like there was nothing that man couldn't do.
No, I mean, he leaps over defenders.
He does in a single bound.
Exactly. No, and he really, what he did was incredible. And as you talked about, and I may have mentioned this, listen to him on an interview of all places with Howard Stern. And you got to hear more of the personal side of things. It wasn't about the football per se. And he seems like a genuinely good dude, and I'm glad for his success. I think that the running backs are becoming even more important. It is a big draft class. We are going to see there's a wealth of riches out there.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to start to maybe you're going to see more feature backs and not running back by committee.
That would be an interesting turn, because it's sometimes there are teams that they're 3 deep. They're 3 deep on that, and they rotate them out regularly. So I wonder if we're going into a different swing again with running backs. Not that running backs ever lost style, but they didn't draft. They're not being drafted as high. They're not getting paid as much. I mean, you're seeing the shift with quarterbacks, obviously, but even wide receivers, because what the hell's going on in Cincinnati? They slapped the franchise tag on T. Higgins. What's going on there?
Well, this is what Mike Brown said. Okay, this is what I think, to use the words of former mayor or politician in Cleveland, George Forbes.
I do not have the money. Okay? Did you hear me?
I don't got it.
I do not have the money. Okay.
I don't got it. I don't got it.
Yeah, and Mike Brown, I mean, Cincinnati's kind of a crazy place, and I've heard it said before, so this is not me saying this, that or an original thought here. But okay, you've got owners who have other money and businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the football team is not where they make their money. Well, for Mike Brown and Cincinnati, football is their business.
It is.
So they don't have the kind of money to just throw around and like the Haslams do in Cleveland or elsewhere to say,
Right.
I'm going to convert your salary. I have the cash up front to pay you, right? But T. Higgins, that Cincinnati, they got some stuff going on there. You've got the T. Higgins issue and the Hendrickson issue.
Yeah. The Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade.
Yep. He
asked and they gave him permission to seek a trade too, which surprises me because their defense was their Achilles heel last year. And now you're going to get rid of arguably the best defensive player that you have on your team. You're just going to let him walk. Like, do they even care?
Yeah.
You have Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and you're wasting it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, think about it. Cincinnati has done this before. They had Carson Palmer, Ocho Cinco, Hushmanzada.
Oh, yeah, TJ Hushmanzada. They had Adam Pac-Man Jones, who love him or like him. He was great.
No, they've had times like these where they've had so much talent and haven't been able to put it all together. Certainly, I don't know what they're thinking there. I really don't. I think it would behoove them to, I don't know. It's kind of like we talk about the Guardians. It seems like they need an inflection of financials and money to help out there. This T. Higgins situation, yeah, they're tagging him. Great. He's not, and they're going to probably then try to negotiate a contract.
I don't think T will go for it though.
I don't think so either, because I don't know that they can pay him what he.
Yeah, I agree. You can't keep Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and pay them all what they deserve.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. And then also talk about the Hendrickson thing. Sam Hubbard announced his retirement.
He retired. I heard though that Sam Hubbard did it because he was going to be released.
Okay. See, I thought I heard something. So anyway, you slice it, you've got.
But that's a big piece too.
It is. It's a very big piece. They are going to be in some trouble.
I agree.
And so I think that they've got an uphill battle. As good as their offense can be, that defense is not looking great.
It's so bad. That defense was so bad last year. It was.
Oh yeah.
And take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I call out the Browns too, though. We weren't exactly lighting it up.
So terrible.
Yeah. But so was I mean, Cincinnati had to put up 30-40 points a game in order to have a shot.
Yeah, and had they not had such a poor start to the season.
Oh yeah, they would have been in the playoffs. But
yeah, they were right there. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you can't.
You can't start. That's the thing. You can't start that way, and then
yeah exactly.
You can have those. If football is. Baseball and basketball, you can have those skids where you're on a losing. You can't any more than 2 in a row in the NFL. You're toast. You're cooked.
Yeah, you really are. And
yeah,
it's the statistics. Everything is the numbers say that you're in trouble. That's the bottom line. It's hard to bounce back from like those slow starts. It happens.
Yeah,
but it's rare, very rare.
I think that slapping the franchise tag on T is going to backfire, because now I don't think he's going to. Now he's like, they think this is the second year in a row that they did that to him. So now he's like, you're impeding my ability to go out to a team and make bank 2 years in a row now. So I'm not going to stay.
Yeah. Although for T. Higgins, he's got to be also kind of pissed because the market, there's so many good wide receivers.
Yeah, there are.
In the league. and then he's going to start he's getting the mileage, as we talked about running backs.
Yes, he is.
And
yes, he is.
His value is going to go down.
It just slides. Yeah. Every year, that unless you're in your prime, unless you're young and in your prime, like your value goes down every year. It's like a car.
It depreciates.
Yeah, it depreciates.
It definitely depreciates. So,
well, we can talk. I think that we'll skip over Kirk Cousins for now because let's talk about the depreciation. Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
I did not have that on my bingo card. I feel like I don't think he was the player everybody thought he was going to be coming out of college, but I don't think he was that bad.
He was mediocre at best.
Yeah, he was. He was mediocre. I think it was just there's just such a shadow with his brother because Nick is so good. You know,
and he's younger.
Baby Bosa. Yeah, I mean, I just remember everybody calling him Baby Bosa when he played for Ohio State, and it was. What are your thoughts on Bosa? I mean, he has not had the best career.
Okay, so last year he played in 14 games. He had 22 tackles and 5 sacks. If you want to talk about depreciation, that's depreciation.
Yeah.
9 seasons, 72 sacks. He's been in the year, I think, a year more than Myles Garrett, and Garrett's got over 100 sacks.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's only played, it looks like, if I was remembering correctly, all the years that it was still 16 games in the regular season.
Yeah.
Out of those 9 seasons, only played all of the games 3 times. And I think that he's been disappointing.
Yeah.
He's been a letdown, just like it's kind of, I mean, to use the comparison, because if you talk about Ohio State players who've been a little bit of a letdown at the defense, Chase Young, a bit of a letdown there.
Yeah. Chase Young has been a lot. I mean, maybe it was the team that he was on. I don't know, because look at him now.
Yeah.
Look at Washington. Yeah. He was a really big letdown.
Yeah. 100%. He was a letdown. Joey Bosa has been a kind of sort of a letdown, and I think his value is depreciated. He's going to be someone's going to look for him as like a 1-year rental, maybe.
Right. And you had brought up a really good like a Jadeveon Clowney. You know, I think sometimes defensive players maybe hang on a little bit too long because once they're done, they're kind of done. Going to have younger, stronger, faster, and you can't fight father time. You just can't.
No, it's undefeated.
Yes. Yeah. It is undefeated, and it always will be. There will never be a time where it doesn't lose. No. You know, it's that Toby Keith song. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. So, you know, you'll have those flashes of the old, and I think everybody is like, oh, they're back. And then they come out the next game and you're like, no, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, so Evan Engram, he was released. You know, tight ends are not exactly hot commodities anymore. And Engram was a staple on a lot of fantasy rosters for a long time. And, you know, now what's the interest in him going to be?
Yeah.
He was released. I don't know if everybody had seen that. Evan Engram was released.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, what a disaster in Jacksonville. That is a real poop show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that Ingram's market is going to be a big thing. However, if he's on the cheap, I can talk to you about one team that needs players on the cheap and is going to be looking for tight ends, Cleveland. And
right.
There will be somebody will look for him. Look, if he's certainly good, and you know, I mean, it depends what he can give out there on the field. If he can be the blocking. And provide that little bit of veteran leadership. Certainly you're going to see some things. I mean, you're even seeing tight ends like Mark Andrews certainly coming off injuries, but he's kind of declining.
I know. And he was a guaranteed guy. Like he was just money, you know?
And he was Lamar Jackson's safety.
Yes. Yeah.
Blanket.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where Evan Engram, I mean, again, as you said, 30 years old. That's getting up there in age for most NFL players,
it is,
et cetera.
It is. Well, especially at the tight end
Yeah,
at the tight end, yeah.
because it is such a physical. There's so much physicality
There
involved.
is. Yeah, because tight ends they
Why?
pose as more than just a receiver. They
Yes,
do a lot of their traditionally they do a lot of blocking. So
exactly.
it's
So
way more physical. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked by anything that Jacksonville is doing. That
Yeah.
again, the fact that they didn't have a GM before the until like 2 days before the combine is kind of crazy. The
Yeah.
fact that they wanted to get a coach and the coach said, I don't like the GM, had turned him down. They said, okay, we'll fire the GM. And then he's like, okay, I'll be your coach. I mean,
Yeah.
peak,
Yeah.
peak is the best way I can say it.
So I think we both agree Ingram is just like, I don't know if he'll find a home. Maybe he'll find a home on a second, third string, just as a placeholder until he's accepted the fact that his career is done.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It's a horse pill. It's a horse pill to swallow.
Yeah. So we're running over a little bit, but I think we can close out. We don't have to talk too long on it. We can close out on the disaster that is the Browns. And you guys, this has nothing to do with us being Cleveland fans. This just has everything to do with the Cleveland Browns are all over the news all the time for various reasons, and none of them are ever any good. So the Browns got a couple of things. They've got a couple of things that are blowing up in their face right now. So the first thing is they did restructure Deshaun Watson. They do save $36 million in cap space, but Ethan, as we were talking last night, you want to explain how it's not completely accurate in the 36 million.
Okay, so they created $36 million in cap room. Okay, and that means because they had to comply with the salary cap of $279.2 million by Wednesday. So I guess by this coming Wednesday. So this actually only puts the Browns at $12.8 million under the cap. Then, and this is according to, I want to give credit because I'm reading this. This is according to Tony Grossi on the Land on Demand. He posted, they have to reserve $8.64 million in cap room for their rookie draft picks. And then, talking about Myles Garrett, if they decide to trade him, they'd have to create another $36 million.
There's no way
to
they're
accommodate the dead cap charge. So I hope that.
So the Browns are cooked. That's, and in short, the Browns are cooked. This Deshaun Watson contract is the gift that just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving here. Even restructuring, because he better not ever see another snap of football in a Browns uniform on the field. Go somewhere else. I don't care after this contract is over, but he's done. He is done. The fans are done. I think everybody is done with Deshaun except Deshaun. So let's just get through these next couple of years, I think, and filter out this misery, because his contract was the gift that just kept on giving. And winning fixes everything, but we're not doing any of that. That's the problem. We're not doing any winning. So Myles Garrett is not going to get traded. Anybody that's watching here, we can talk about these scenarios all day long. He's not going to get traded. Haslam won't even talk to him. And I wouldn't, would you, Ethan? I wouldn't entertain that. Look, I'm not letting you go. We can't afford, number one, we can't afford it. Number two, you're under contract. Number three, just play. So Myles, you got two choices here. You can sit out and let your value go down by not playing for the next 2 years, or you can play. And I don't know what's the solution here with Myles.
All right. So first of all, the interesting point is this, or some interesting things that came out yesterday about Haslam refusing the meeting. Apparently, it wasn't just that Haslam refused it. According to the reports, essentially Haslam said, "No, go talk to Andrew Berry. I'm not doing this." He tried to go over.
So he tried to go to right to the CEO instead of going through to the VP.
Right.
Like he tried to skip, he didn't go through the proper channels. Okay.
Exactly. So this is, and to use other people who pointed this out, this is the child going to one parent, not liking the answer, and then going to the other parent. Yeah. And I saw somebody else's article. They talked about like for the Cavs, when LeBron James in a Cavs uniform, they always say he was like the de facto GM.
Yeah.
He would basically say, "This is what I want," and would overrule whatever the GM was saying. Well, here Jimmy Haslam is saying, look, I'm not going to be the one. Look, you need to talk to Andrew.
Right. He's the one that I put him in charge for a reason.
Right. Exactly. And so I think you need that as much as we don't like and don't.
I agree. I agree with the approach.
Yeah. And no, 100%. So I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
To redirect him and say, I'm not going to meet with you. I think that the ability to trade him is going to be very, very difficult. I wouldn't say it's an absolute 0.0% chance, because you never know what some team might offer up and what they might be able to do financially. So I can't say for a certainty that there is no way in hell it would happen.
Right.
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt they're going to be able to make a move and trade him as he so wants. And I find it to be just a piece of crap move.
It's terrible. It's just further eroding the organization. Like, you took a fire. It was a forest fire, and now you're making it into a multi-state wildfire where you're just leaving a devastating, because every little thing like this is just making it worse and worse and worse. So you decided in all your infinite wisdom, Miles, that emotions are high. Everyone is unhappy. So I'm going to pour gasoline on this fire and make a bad situation even worse. Brilliant. Oh, yeah. Brilliant move. And I'm going to do it publicly.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to do an open letter, like anybody outside of Cleveland cares about you. They just simply don't.
No, they don't. I mean, it's a great talking point for the national shows, but as we talked about, he took a flamethrower at press row during the Super Bowl and went on a public rant there. But it's kind of funny. Joel Bitonio says, I'm coming back. Yet Myles Garrett is like, nah, you losers suck. I'm out. You're the moron. You helped push Baker Mayfield out the door, and now you're not happy with the situation. They swung for the fences to get a quarterback. It didn't work out. But you act like the team is not trying. Hey,
I think that's where I get the most upset about it, because, you know, if like you had, like your analogy with Mike Brown, and Haslam is trying, he is spending an exorbitant amount of cash. Did it work out? No. But he is at least trying. So you do have an owner that does want to win and does care. It's just that right now it's a dumpster fire because, you know, Nick Chubb is going to test free agency. But again, as Cleveland fans, we look at everything from an emotional standpoint. We love Nick Chubb. We love the human being, Nick Chubb. Is he a great running back? Yeah, he was. I don't know if he's ever going to get that back. I mean, his knee was absolutely decimated for the second time. But we look at it from an emotional standpoint. So we love Nick Chubb. He's our blue collar guy. He is the face of Cleveland. And now he, you know, wants to try to test the free agency waters. And now we're all like, burn the whole organization down if Nick Chubb goes. But we also fail, like you said, we also fail to see that it is actually a business. It actually is a business.
It is. It is definitely a business. And we have no idea what went on behind closed doors.
No.
Did they meet? Did Nick Chubb and his representatives go and say, we want a $20 million a year we want Saquon Barkley money? And they said, look, you're coming off injuries. We cannot offer that. This is what we want to offer. And they said, and maybe they said, no, we're not going to do that. And the Browns said, okay, look, you can
see if anybody else will.
See if anybody else will. And we'd love to have you, but we're going to let you take a look. You know, we don't want to hold you back. You see if what you can get. And if it works out for you somewhere else, hey, the best of luck. We love you. If it doesn't, you know, we'll try and work something out. We don't know. And there may be stories that come out, and we won't know that right now.
We'll find out later. We'll definitely find out later. But one of the interesting things is that this story came out a little while, a couple of days ago, several days ago, and we haven't heard anything you haven't heard rumors of teams that are clamoring to go after him now. So it does lead me to believe that there is way more to the story than Nick Chubb just saying, I want out of Cleveland, or the organization saying we want you out. It leads me to believe that there's way more to that story than just the black and white, simple thing that we heard.
Yeah. And it's tough. Like you said, And I think a lot of fan bases are like this. There's a lot of emotion involved. We are fanatics. That is,
We
what
are. We are
fans.
fanatics.
We
Yeah.
are fanatics, and emotions get the best of us.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to sometimes step back and look at it and say, look, this is the situation. And why is it? Because there's the same people that would yell that you let him walk out the door, the same people that yell and scream because you overpaid a guy and now you
Correct.
get money.
Correct. Hello, Deshaun Watson. It's fine as long as you're winning.
Yeah.
Winning fixes everything. And then when you're not, that's when everything just gets heightened.
Yeah, it's really tough, and
Yeah.
it's a business, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard fanning.
It's very hard fanning. It's very hard. It's very it is. I think it's one of the things in my life that causes me the most joy, but it causes me the most grief. It brings me the most joy and causes me the most grief. There is nothing like it. There's nothing like it out there.
It's fanning. It's a weak one. It's a weak analogy, but it's like being a parent. You got kids.
Yeah.
It brings you so much pride and joy, but it can bring you so much pain and angst.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
certainly you can't get rid of your kids per se, it's like you can a sport. That's kind of disposable.
But honestly, if we could get rid of, if I could walk away from Cleveland and not care, I would totally do it. I would do it in a New York minute. If I could divorce the Browns and never care about them again, I would in a minute. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Nope. And I would. And that's why we are who we are.
It is.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's, as it's said by Tony Rizzo, it takes courage to be a Browns fan.
It does take courage to be a Browns fan, but we'll close it out with this. Being a Browns fan has gotten me some of the best friends that I have ever had in my life, and I am co-hosting with one of them right now. So had it not been for this dumpster fire of a team, Ethan, I would have never met you, and I'm very grateful for this. So they at least bring something good.
They do. They bring us all together.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely so great to be here with you and use our Browns and Cleveland fandom
Yes.
to join forces.
Yeah.
And speaking of joining forces, so first of all,
yeah,
just a programming note for everybody out there listening. Tuesday night, 8:00, Going Nuclear and the Best Doggone Podcast in the Land. We will be together. Heather, myself, Mike Rasinski, and our special guest scheduled is Matt Fontana. Matt Fontana, previously at ESPN Cleveland, is on Big Play, and he's on ESPN National. So we are going to have a great program. So please stay tuned for the links. Be sure to join us on Tuesday night at 8:00 is when we are scheduled. Please like and subscribe to our Twitter account, to our YouTube account, Best Doggone Podcast in the Land. Check out all the great programming on Fanatical Elves, Fans First Sports Network. You can find our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms, whether it's Apple or Spotify or whatever it is. Look for our programming. You can look for Fanatical Elves. You can please,
we're out there. We're out there everywhere. We really appreciate your support. We could use your support. Give us a follow. I have it right there. I've got it right there on how you can find us. And then we have it our ticker. Check us out on YouTube. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And I mean, couldn't be more thankful for everybody who tuned in this morning, everybody who's commented. We always appreciate the interaction. And again, please like, follow, subscribe, tune in again. Stay tuned for the links Tuesday night, 8:00. And on a selfish note, tonight, if you're not busy watching maybe Lakers Celtics or before then, we've got the second round of the NCAA Division III women's basketball tournament. I'll be on the play-by-play for Randolph-Macon Yellow Jackets taking on Elizabethtown College in the second round of the NCAA Division III women's basketball tournament. I will have posted it on my Twitter, links, etc. So if you get an opportunity, if you're sitting around, whatever, feel free to give a listen and really appreciate it. Heather, what do you got going on? I know you've got some stuff coming up this weekend too.
Yeah. Give it a listen, guys. I've listened to his. He's a good play-by-player, so give it a listen. I obviously doing the crossover, joining you and everyone on Tuesday, and I'm excited for that. That's going to be a really good show, and I will be posting it later today. Check it out. I have a special guest, Newt. I'm going to be hopping over to Bougie Sports and doing a draft special. You guys, the guy that I'm going to have on here he is a savant. So I am sorry. He's so good. He's so smart. He knows every player, every team. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be going over some draft stuff because the draft is however long it is away. And just looking forward to doing more of our weekly pods here, and there's a lot to talk about even in the off season because baseball is coming up.
Yeah, we've got a lot of interesting things. Tyler Naquin, pitcher?
I know. We might talk about that. Give us a couple weeks, you guys, and we're gonna start talking about that too. So there's just a lot to cover. There's a lot to go over. There
absolutely is. So, Heather, as always, a pleasure. Everybody, thank you for tuning in this morning.
Yes, thank you so very, very much for joining us on a Saturday.
Yeah. So until next time, you have been tuned in to the best doggone podcast in the land with Ethan and Heather.